Update. I, 30 female, am sitting in the back of my RV as my husband, 32 male, rants about how lovely the trip would be if I hadn't joined him. Original post. Just to note, this is the first time that an issue like this has come up in our marriage, and I do not know what to do. I have been writing romance novels since I was in college. I was a relatively successful author and I have made a living off selling my novels ever since. I do not make a lot of money, but I do bring home around $40,000 a year in book sales. This allows me to stay at home during the day so I can write and also make crafts to sell in my Etsy shop. A few years after college, I met Tim and we instantly hit it off. We dated for 3 years before tying the knot, and we bought a house shortly after. Tim makes living off his investments in stocks. However, we keep our finances separate. This is because Tim inherited a vast amount of money from his family, and before we married, I signed a prenup agreement in order to ease his mind. We both contribute an equal share to the joint bank accounts for bills. Then we use the remainder of our money for ourselves. About a year ago, I landed a contract to write part of a romance series. The contract was huge, and the payout was over $120,000 for a few months' work. I contributed my share to the joint account and then put the rest of the money into the bank so I could buy an RV. I have always wanted an RV because I love to travel, and nothing would make me happier than being able to write while on the road. Tim is often away on business for days at a time, so the RV would give me an opportunity to get out of the house while he's away. After 6 months of deciding, I chose a lightly used RV and purchased it from the owners for a great price. When Tim found out about the purchase, he was excited. He has a travel trailer, but it's not the same as an all-in-one RV. He loves RVs and wanted to immediately take it out for a trip across the state. We took our trip and Tim couldn't stop talking about how much he enjoyed the experience, and he started talking about taking more trips together. I gently reminded him that even though the RV is a fun thing for us to have for vacations, that its main purpose is for me to have something to do while he is away for business, but that we would be taking plenty of vacations together. Tim agreed with me and let it go for a while. The thing is, in the past few weeks, Tim has been badgering me about taking the RV with him on his business trips. He usually flies when he goes to check his rental property/visit family, and he is normally gone for 4 to 5 days at a time. We got into an argument because he had to evict a tenant and he wanted to drive the RV across the state in order to do so. I asked him if I could come along, and Tim said he would prefer if I didn't. I then said that if I couldn't come with him, then he couldn't take my RV. I suggested that he take his travel trailer instead, and he got mad and stormed out of the house. About an hour later, he started texting me like nothing had happened, and then he said he was taking the RV as if our previous conversation had never happened. I called him and tried to explain that he had just purchased a brand new pickup, and that if I didn't get to drive his new truck in his absence, why should he get to take my RV when I'm not coming on the trip? Tim and I went back and forth, and eventually he said I could come along if it meant that much to me. I said I would, and now I'm regretting everything. I'm sitting in the back of my own RV with a man who won't let me touch the wheel. It has been 3 days since this trip has started, and all Tim has done is rant about how awesome the RV trip would be if I weren't with him. It has made me question everything in our marriage, from how we split our finances to how we argue and function together. This is the first time that anything like this has ever happened, and I don't know what to do in this situation. He is still ranting as I type this, and he's never done that before either. Now for the top advice before reading the update. There is no way these issues are about an RV and a pickup truck. You should get yourselves to a marriage counselor so you two can get the bottom of whatever your real issues are. Counseling is worth a try, but I don't know if he would be a willing participant at this point. I have never heard him be passive-aggressive like this before. Usually, he is brutally honest about his feelings. If I can find a good time to suggest it, I will. But if that moment never comes, I'm probably going to leave. And as I typed this comment, I realized that I have been walking on eggshells around him, and that's not fair at all. He sounds like a selfish brat who's had everything handed to him in life and can't tolerate being told no. He won't go to therapy because he doesn't want to hear harsh truths. When you try to talk to him, he's going to try to invalidate your feelings, but don't let him. You aren't in the wrong. Tim is a prick. He was fine not sharing when he had nicer stuff, but now that you have something nicer, he gets pissy that you won't share. He really just sounds like a selfish a-hole. Yeah, the most charitable interpretation I can come up with is that nobody ever taught this dude how to share. The less charitable interpretation is that nobody taught him to share, and he has weird hang-ups about control and women making money. Wow, your financial setup is kind of awful. It's one thing for a person with a lot of money in accounts to want to have a prenup to ensure that they don't lose that, or someone who owns an established business or significant assets. That makes sense to me. But when one partner is rich and the other is making a normal living, it seems wrong to me that the rich partner wouldn't want their spouse to have a higher standard of living while they are married. Your husband does sound like a prick. There is no way in hell you should be paying half of the expenses if your income is way less. He is a selfish bastard. Why did he buy himself an RV since he can probably do that without batting an eye? Seriously, I see situations often on this sub where a large inheritance can be a real negative in terms of a person's suitability for marriage, as it makes them paranoid and unwilling to share, where a normal person with a normal working life should be more generous and approach finances with a spirit of togetherness. At least you would have the right to expect that they would. I didn't mind signing the prenup because, like you said, he had significant assets he wanted to protect. It only covers the funds he had before he entered the marriage. Everything after the marriage is split. Your insight is very valuable because you're right. It's not as if I do not bring home money or that I don't have a job. I split everything I have with him, but he has been unwilling to share with me. Edit. Hey guys, I have read all your comments and advice. I don't know what I'll do yet, but I will update later. I've read all of your messages and I've got limited internet right now. A few of you were concerned for my safety and I just wanted to let you all know I'm fine. I plan on confronting him later today. And now for the update. I promised I would update, but things got very hectic and this is the first chance I have gotten. This whole situation makes me very emotional, so please forgive me if this post is not as coherent as I would like it to be. When I posted my first post, we were on the road in the RV and my husband was giving me the cold shoulder while he complained about me from the driver's seat. You all had some great advice for me about what I should do, and I listened to a few people who suggested that he might be cheating on me. Tim had left his iPad in the back of the RV to charge while he drove. I'm not proud of this, but I was able to sneak his iPad into the bedroom while he was distracted by the road. He was logged into his email account and I quickly skimmed over his inbox, but I didn't find anything suspicious. I then had the idea to check his sent folder and found out that he had been chatting up his ex from college. It made me sick to my stomach to read the messages, but luckily they had not yet been physical. Translated from the chat speak, the message he had sent his ex was basically, "I can't wait to get my hands on you. It's been years since I felt that mouth. I'm excited." I was disgusted, but I tried to keep calm. We were on the road headed to another state and we planned on stopping at his mother's house. I knew that if his messages were in the sent folder, that meant that he had deleted them. Tim was not planning on being caught and was trying to hide his tracks. He wanted my RV so that he could take his ex around the state and have fun without leaving a credit card trace. I took photos of the emails and sent them to myself in order to preserve the evidence. I then went back to the front of the RV and acted as if everything was fine. I apologized, don't worry, I lied, for how I had acted and suggested that we ask his mom to help us work through this. Tim said that he was sorry too and that he accepted my apology. He said he was looking forward to using the RV in the future and that he was glad I had come to see reason. I smiled and nodded, but on the inside, I was cursing his existence. We made it to his mom's house and I made up an excuse about having to change because my clothes were wrinkled. Tim went inside without me, and I started throwing all of his clothes and belongings into a trash bag. I then went inside a house, and Tim was sitting with his mom in the kitchen. He asked me what I was doing with the bag, and I told him that I was giving him his clothes so that I could leave. Tim then got angry and asked me what the heck was I doing, and his mom was simply confused. She asked me what was going on, and I told her, I'm not sure myself. I'm waiting for Tim to explain why he was planning to cheat on me with his ex. Tim's mom then started to cry and yell at Tim while he tried to calm her down. I know Reddit does not have a lot of love for religion, but Tim's mother is a fundamentalist. She had loved me from the minute Tim introduced me to her, and it would be an understatement to say that she was very upset with her adulterous son. Tim never tried to apologize to me. Instead, he chased after his mother saying he was sorry to her. This made her cry harder because she knew that he wasn't even trying to make amends with me. He was just apologizing to her. She hugged me and told me to just go home and she would handle her son. I thanked her and took the RV keys from Tim. This ended up being a minor wrestling match and left. I drove home crying, but at least I got rid of my a-hole ex-husband. Tim called me the next day and begged me to come back to him. He said it was all a mistake, that he was sorry. I asked him why he didn't apologize at his mother's house, why he didn't say he was sorry when I was handing him his bag. I told him that he didn't care about cheating on me, that all he cared about is how bad it made him look to his family. He tried to explain himself, but I cut off and hung up. I blocked him on all social media and haven't heard anything since. I've gotten a lawyer and have already started the divorce process. Ouch. Silver lining in this is now you have the RV to yourself and can find a better partner in the future. I'm also glad his mother took your side and was upset with him for cheating. You should definitely keep her in your life after the divorce. Yep, I'm going to have a blast driving around without him. And the bonus is that I don't have to pay for a hotel. I love his mom, and I'm so happy she defended me. She's such a no-nonsense person, and I hope I find out what she did with him. You handled it like such a boss, that the only thing left to do is to speculate on this. She bit the living daylights out of him is what happened. Lol. Wow, complex feelings on this one. There's the ouch, that's awful, but also an overwhelming but thank God she's getting the heck away from that a-hole. I was concerned that you might stay with him for another year or two until the marriage gave its last gasp. This is surely painful, but cleaner. And you haven't ever got to think about the other woman being in your RV. Finding out he was cheating made it an easy decision. It was like, okay, he's cheating on you and he doesn't give a damn. You don't have to give a damn now either. It would be much, much harder if he was simply being an a-hole. Luckily, he made a choice for me. I'm glad he cheated on me. Doesn't sound like it would be true, but it is. The clarity just simplifies life so much. With me, it was when I hitchhiked during a snowstorm on my birthday to bring my separated husband the house key he had given our son because he had locked himself out of his apartment. His response? I suppose I have to drive you home now. You think? Thank you. That was a birthday gift after all. When I read your first story, I thought, he wants it so he won't leave a credit card trail. I guess I was right. What a sorry fool he is. I'm sorry it turned out this way, but I'm glad you kicked him out and talked to a lawyer. Screw him. Thank you. You're right. Screw him. Now for the last story. Girlfriend 24 female wants to move in together and wants me, 24 male, to fully financially support her through her 4-year PhD program. I refused because I want her to pay her fair share of rent and bills. My girlfriend and I got together in our last year of uni and have been together for about a year now. We both graduated this year and got our masters in our respective fields. I have recently started my first job as an engineer and doing great so far. My girlfriend graduated with a degree in biology and applied for a PhD program her last semester. She got the great news that her application for a 4-year program got accepted, so she will be starting off her career doing research. I'm currently living on my own in a small 1-bedroom apartment. It's definitely not the best, but it's good enough for one person and I can deal with it. It's pretty affordable compared to other places in our city and allows me to actually start saving up for a house later down the line. My initial plan was to continue to endure living here so I don't waste too much money on rent and can save up until I can eventually buy my own place. My girlfriend has been living with a couple of roommates for the past few years. My girlfriend brought up the idea of the both of us moving in together. She wants us to find a bigger apartment in our city and live there for the duration of her PhD program. I was honestly not expecting this from her so soon, but I wasn't opposed to it at first, and it actually seemed like the right next step in our relationship. But she then told me that I would have to pay for all the rents and bills, because her income doing research would be very low, and I would be making way more than her, and that she also has to start paying off her massive student loan debt. I told her that I would want to split our rent and utilities by percentage of our income, so that we would be both contributing equally according to our income. She responded that as her partner, I should be willing to support her in her career, and that paying for rent would be my way of helping her. I straight up told her that this is not what I wanted, and that we should either move in together and contribute equally or not move in at all. This turned into a huge argument where she said that I wasn't a supportive boyfriend for not helping her with her career, and me saying that we should be contributing equally. We have now not talked to each other for almost 2 days. This definitely threw me off. When it comes to relationships, I view them as an equal partnership on all fronts, whether that's financial or domestic affairs. Apart from some money I have saved up for my part-time job during college, I pretty much have no savings now and want to start building up my life. So I definitely won't be paying rent and utilities for anybody else if they aren't contributing themselves, even if it's my girlfriend. If I got a new, bigger place and moved in with my girlfriend while having to pay for everything, I would not be able to save up nearly as much and would be holding myself back for 4 years. I think that if she isn't willing to contribute financially, we're better off not moving in at all. How do you guys think we can resolve this issue between the both of us? Now for the advice. You've only been dating a year. No way I'd do this. Too much chance that you find her PhD and then she dumps you when she's done. Actually, I wouldn't recommend anyone moving in together after only 1 year, but especially just so one can support the other. Even if OP agreed, he would harbor so much resentment in those 4 years. I don't think any amount of intimacy, cuddling, etc. could make up for the 40-plus hour work weeks OP would have to do to support both of them. That actually happened to a friend of mine. She funded his PhD, then 2 weeks after he was done, he dumped her. She never really got over it. A friend of mine supported her husband while he studied. He graduated and got a new shiny wife in his profession. Yep, and those are the people who say, I did this by myself. It's not my fault you didn't go to school or advance in your career. I need somebody who can participate with me 50-50. I need somebody who's on my level. After you did 95-5, just to help them survive so that they could focus on their dreams. And then they possibly tell their next spouse that she needs to give up on her career so they can play a more supporting role. Like, you had that, but it wasn't good enough. You could have had what you wanted if you just accepted what you had. Update. Am I the a-hole for skipping my own birthday dinner? Original post. So, a little backstory. I, 25 female, and my husband Vernon, 36, have been married for 5 years. It was arranged by my grandfather and his uncle. We are not Americans, so it's common here. Vernon wasn't too thrilled about the marriage, and he made it very clear because he was already in a relationship with Felicity, 30s female. Long story short, Vernon, his family, and Felicity did their best to make my life hell, while my dumb self was stuck on the idea that one day he might change. About 3 years ago, I found out I was pregnant and I was excited, but he wasn't. Given we only been intimate a handful of times before that, so he got into his head that it wasn't his. The baby had complications and I had to get a medical abortion. Not once did he or his family came to the hospital. And I guess that opened my eyes and I just stopped caring. I stopped trying. Then early last year, he suddenly started caring, coming home early, calling me, bringing me flowers, and it was quite uncomfortable for me. Then he tells me that he's had a change of heart and wants to try to better our marriage because he's developed feelings for me? It's all fishy, to be honestly. I wouldn't trust this man as far as I can throw him. He's been doing these little things, and I just can't help but think there's a joke coming at my expense. Now on to the story. It was my birthday last weekend, and Vernon told me his family was hosting me a birthday dinner. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, and the last time I was at his parents', they literally told me my baby's complications were my fault, and kicked me out because Felicity was uncomfortable. Not to mention that they haven't apologized, just started acting friendly. I kept telling him no, but he kept insisting. Then he let it go, and I assumed that was that. So I made plans and went out with my mom and cousins, and he starts calling me asking me where I am. I tell him, and he tells me that he's waiting for me. What? Long story short, his family is mad that I skipped, because they apparently wanted to apologize so that we could move forward. And Vernon keeps saying he understands why I did it, but he has been apologizing for everything and nothing. And last night, Felicity called to cuss me out because they left her high and dry, and Vernon wants nothing to do with her. So maybe they did want to apologize. I thought I was in the right, but now even my cousins are telling me I was wrong for skipping, and now I'm doubting myself. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Did I get this right? Arranged marriage, but your husband already had a girlfriend? He treats you poorly and doesn't believe this kid is his? I know you lost it, but it's still sad. You and his family don't get along. I hope you can get out and find someone who truly loves you. Not a-hole. If it was arranged, that may not be an option. That is what makes this much more sad. Info cause I'm nosy. Why doesn't his family like you, or at least tolerate you, if they are the ones who made the arrangements? Was it that the uncle was the patriarch and his parents felt they had no choice but to go along? Like, what is their endgame? To get you to call quits so it won't be their son's fault the marriage failed? Yes, his uncle is the head of the family and doesn't like Felicity because she's not from our culture. Vernon didn't go against his uncle because it would lead to his shunning. Marrying me had benefits, such as the house we live in and a piece of land in the farming areas. So I guess that was it. His uncle mentioned to the family that the only way the marriage would end was if I was to initiate it. I didn't know about any of this, and everything has started making more sense now. Not a-hole. Even if they were sincere, a birthday party is not the place to apologize. I understand your hesitation, as that's perfect place for ambush. They can come to you and apologize if that was their intent. Also, block the girlfriend. Why was she still around if he's now married? He's love-bombing you. Find out why. I ask, and all he says is he wants to make amends and make up for lost times. Like that's my fault. Felicity is blocked and will stay so. No, he wants something. Don't trust him. See if there's any way out from this situation. Maybe a women group that can help you escape. Now for the first update. Wow, I wasn't expecting this to get as much attention as it has. I am overwhelmed, and I'm sorry if I don't manage to reply to everyone. Thank you for your kind words and advice. Some more info on my family because I saw repeating questions in the comments. My family didn't know about most of what was going on, as I chose to not tell them. But they still found out, and are still willing to handle the effects of me leaving. But I can't let them do that. Everyone is happy and this would disrupt their lives greatly. I can't bring myself to do that, especially to my little nieces. A few hours after I made the post, I decided to have a talk with Vernon after I came home from work. It went somewhat okay. I followed some advice in the comments about starting over on my terms. I asked him questions I needed answers to, and he gave me answers. I wasn't completely satisfied, but it's a start. I told him I would give our marriage a chance, but he had to know that he was completely done with Felicity and would be completely on board with this. I told him to stop with the love bombing because it was making me uncomfortable. Told him I would absolutely not be having kids in the near future, and told him I was in no way ready to be his wife and we would continue with our separate rooms. Surprisingly, he was on board with all of this and said that he wasn't a boy anymore and that he was getting older and he needed to sort himself out and make things right. I asked him if he only had a change of heart because he wanted me to take care of him in his old age, and he said no. He said he realized that Felicity isn't what he's always wanted and started seeing her manipulative, toxic ways. His words. He said he was willing to put the house in only my name entirely, as it's currently 40% mine, as a way of showing that he is all in and would mess up if I give us a second chance. He said he was willing to give me as much space as I need. He said he'll have a word with his family about me needing time and space and taking baby steps. Honestly, I don't know where this will go at this point. I don't know the direction in which we are headed, but I'm willing to try so I can have a free conscience. I've started making a backup plan to leave, but that's in the worst case scenario. I'll update if anything significant happens. Now for the second update 3 weeks later. Hey everyone! So a few things happened that I thought you all needed to know. First off, I'd like to thank everyone for your care and support. I never thought I'd cry after reading words, but you have no idea how much courage your kind words have given me. I told Vernon to go through with the transferring of the house in my name, and he did. I guess he knew he would be getting more money, but now I own the house. Still, nobody was telling me anything about the 180 change. So I decided to go to Felicity, which is stupid, I know, but she was the only one who was willing to give me any information, since she's spiteful, and I think I got what I needed. It's not much, but it's enough to cement my decision. Turns out, Felicity had her womb removed when she was younger, so she can't give Vernon children, and the whole family found out and turned against her. The uncle has been speaking of retiring, and Vernon has been at war with the uncle's sons to either take over the business or become one of the decision makers. And a child would guarantee that he would be given a large sum of the company's shares that would be in his name and a child's. And since Felicity couldn't give him one, I was the solution. Felicity told me as much as she knew, so I went to one of Vernon's cousins. I confronted him about what Felicity said, and after a heated back and forth, he finally confirmed everything. I don't know why, but that hurt. Even though I knew it was too good to be true, I still held on to hope that maybe I was wrong. After conversation, I decided to play along until I could get out. He completely cut off Felicity, and it's scary just how much he's acting like she never existed. I put in a transfer to a city 12 hours away from here. My head teacher knows my situation and swore not to tell them. I brought up moving to my family, and majority of them said I'd be selfish if I did that. And their whole lives are here and all that. But honestly, I feel I should put myself first, but told them it was just a thought and that I would never do that. My mom and brother have been my biggest support system, and I'm taking them with me. My cousin is moving with my little nieces to his wife's city. So that's that. I found a house where my mom, brother, 2 cousins, and I will stay. I then listed the house for sale on a private auction page. This will cause a big blowout, but I won't be here for it. So lol. I'll leave this place in about 40 days, and the most tiring thing is to get my affairs in order without raising suspicion. I refused to be intimate with Vernon and told him I wasn't ready. He told me we'll work on my time, but I see him getting more and more frustrated each day. Even though I'm scared for myself and my family and what they will do when they find out, I've decided to leave and not changing my mind. I'm still young, and I honestly don't want to end up like my mother, in a loveless marriage with a cheating alcoholic. It took the words of internet strangers for me to realize that, and I'm so grateful. Sorry if this is all over the place. I'll update if anything changes. Now for more comments before the last update. I'm so glad you have a plan to get out. One more suggestion I will make, and it may sound absolutely horrible, but if you can get on some kind of birth control in case Vernon does the absolutely worst thing a man can do to a woman, you've got some protection from pregnancy. Stay safe, OP. Oh, wow. I have to totally agree with this. Please take any and all precautions to prevent pregnancy. If a child is all that your husband is after, he may do the unthinkable to get one. I am not sure what country you are in, but he may have a say over your future if you do get pregnant. Be careful, and please update when you are safely away. Go and save yourself and your loved ones, OP. With the latest info you've found, I think down the road when Vernon has secured his wealth/inheritance, there is very high possibility Felicity will come back into the picture, and you will be removed or be in a loveless marriage, and a third wheel in your own marriage. Stay safe. Now for the last update after 2 more weeks. Hello again. I didn't think I would be making an update this soon, but I messed up big time. I've never been so scared in my life. So a couple of days after I made last update, my sister-in-law found a post and showed it to Vernon. I knew my time was up, that I had to make a move. So I let my mom and brother know that we had to be ready to leave at any moment. Vernon was not happy, and he made it very clear. He told me we were to have a family meeting the next day, and I just knew we had to get out. When he went to attend evening prayers, I gathered all important belongings I had and told mom and brother to get ready because we had to leave. I gave them the information they needed to leave in case I didn't make it. We had a meeting in the afternoon and it wasn't pretty. The uncle came, and he was angry that I brought shame to the family with my actions, and everyone took that as a green light. I ended up with a split lip and a dislocated shoulder and a few broken ribs, but at least I didn't go down without a fight. Looking back, I feel proud of myself. I spoke up for myself. I defended myself and the people I love. I honestly thought I wasn't going to come out alive. I couldn't breathe properly. I couldn't move, and for a while I just thought of ending myself because I was in so much pain. But my mom and brother managed to get me out. I don't know how. I don't remember a lot because my memory became foggy, but I got out and I'm alive. We reached our new home. My family's still adjusting and I'm still healing. I hope I heal in time to start working. We are safe, and even though I'm scared that they might find us, I'm relieved and I feel free. I just thought I'd let everyone know how I'm doing. A lot has happened in so little time that sometimes I feel like it's a dream and I'll snap back to reality. I won't say much, and I don't think I'll make more posts after this one. Thank you all. Thank you to everyone who supported me. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for making me realize that I deserved more, that I am worth more. To all the women that shared their stories with me, you all gave me the courage that I needed to stand up for myself. No words can ever express my gratitude to you internet strangers. Also, thank you to the gentleman who asked me out to lunch, lol. Grace, I know you'll see this. I don't hate you. Just know that you're a woman and you'll also get married, but I hope your husband's family doesn't treat you the way you treated me. I wish I could be there to see the look on all your faces when the new owner of the house comes and kicks your beloved brother out of his place. I wish you everything you deserve in all your future endeavors. F you, Grace. I hope you and your family get everything you guys deserve. I'm so happy OP is out and has supportive people around her. Hopefully she never has to deal with X or his garbage family again. F that entire family. So nice to not have to follow AITA rules about civility, but there's nothing civil that can be said about most people involved in a situation like this. I hope OP and her family are able to stay safe from those monsters. I'm a petty person, so I'm hoping that Opie at some point can get some revenge, like organize a meeting for that uncle or give him diarrhea or some such. I remember reading that last post and being terrified that this would happen. Like, the most dangerous time with an abuser is when you leave, and it's not over. I wish Opie all the best and pray for her safety. So proud that she was able to get out, and I hope she presses charges against the monster for what he did to her. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my younger brother that I'm not his dad? I'm 19 and my younger brother, we'll call Ed, is 6. My father, 49, has been in and out of our lives for the past 6 years. He was working abroad and providing for us during that time. But us kids have slowly started to forget his presence around the house. Then in 2021, he had a huge fight with my mother, 48, and decided to leave us under the guise of visiting his relative's funeral, and we haven't seen him since. It's been very tough for my mother, who's tried her utmost best to make the best of such an awful situation for us kids without much help. So me and my sibling, who are mostly a bunch of teens, have tried our best to make things generally easier for her, including assisting in raising Ed. Ed always used to call me by my name, but recently, like a few months ago, he's picked up the habit of calling me Dad. It felt very awkward at first, but after some thought, I figured it was an honest mistake. I didn't pay much attention to it. But it didn't stop there. Ed started calling me Dad more, whether it was in private or whether it was in front of the family, and I was extremely confused. So earlier this afternoon, I picked him up from his school. When we reached home, I went to my mother and jokingly said, "This random child has been following me the entire time. I think he's lost." We have a way of joking that I think is pretty wholesome. I'm sure he enjoys it too. And then playfully tugged me on the arm and said, "How dare you say that? I'm your son." Now here's where I might be the a-hole. I didn't want him to grow up believing that I was something I'm not. So I gently responded, "Ed, I'm not your dad. I'm your older brother, okay? We share the same mother." Ed replied, "You're my dad now, because my real dad is never coming back." Hearing that tore my heart, and I didn't know how to respond. So I hugged him, but he didn't seem too happy and left. My mother pulled me aside later and told me that I shouldn't have said what I said, and that I have hurt his feelings. I tried to explain that as much as I understand his feelings, I wanted him to know who we truly are to each other. I didn't want to devastate him later in life. I also mentioned how awkward it made me feel. She said that maybe Ed is calling me Dad not because I'm his actual father, but maybe because I'm one of the safest masculine examples he's got. Upon reflection, I'm starting to feel very guilty about what I did. I think my mother is right. Perhaps I was a little too harsh. I need some people to talk sense into me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. While he may see you as a father figure, it's okay that you don't want the title. Social-wise, calling a 19-year-old dad and a 48-year-old mom could also be very awkward. Your mother should look into family counseling, or even individual for your brother. That's a heavy load for you all. Never mind when the 19-year-old also calls her mom. Mom likely won't always be there. For example, if it's Opie taking his brother to the park alone. Yeah, but sometimes she will, and in those situations, things can get very awkward. Also, a 6-year-old and a 19-year-old can still be a hard situation to deal with if there are unpleasant people around that would judge Opie because they assume he is a teen dad. To be fair, the only thing that's saving me from that are my looks. I look like in my late 20s, so it's nothing crazy when people see me take my little brother out for ice cream, for example. My 15-year-old brother even told me that his classmates assumed I was his dad upon first sight. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband his job as a stay-at-home dad is only easy because I help out? Original post. I am writing this from the guest bedroom because my husband and I had a fight. So the thing is, my husband is a stay-at-home dad. 3 years ago, he wanted to quit his job and take care of the house and children, 6 female and 2 male. And I supported it because I work a decent job and earn most of the money. My husband takes pride in being a stay-at-home dad. He always brags about how it is the easiest job in this world and women are just complaining for no reason. But the truth is, I help him with the chores as much as I can. In the morning, I wake up and fix the breakfast for them, and my husband gets our daughter ready for school. I also do meal preps for lunch, and all he has to do is assemble them and cook it. I pack my and my daughter's lunch. When I am at work, he does the cleaning and spends time with our son, or does his thing. Later when I come home, I cook the dinner and give my son a bath, help my daughter with her schoolwork, or I play with them for some time until bedtime. Besides that, whenever we do laundry, I fold the clothes that he washes and put them away. And during deep cleaning of our house, we split the task 50-50. I also handle all doctor's appointments. The system works really well, but I hate that it thinks my contribution is not enough. That he does all the chores and I do not even lift a finger. Moreover, he has a blog and TikTok where he films his days. He also makes posts about how easy it is to be a stay-at-home dad, and women just complain and full of it. That it is the easiest job in this world. I am glad he likes it, but I hate that he thinks he is superior to everyone and invalidating their experience. I grew up in a house where my dad didn't even lift a finger, and my mom did literally everything around the house. He was the fun dad doing bare minimum, so I did not want that to happen to my husband. Also, it is my house too. I believe if both people do chores, the stress becomes less. Also, I know many of my friends who struggle with doing chores as a stay-at-home mom. I also know women who work and still do majority of the chores. And his comments makes me irritated. So yesterday, my friend Ashley came to visit. She's a mother of two. Her son probably has ADHD and very much active. She has trouble handling her son and gets no help from her husband. Her son breaks a cup in our house. Ashley was saying sorry. My husband cleaned it up and she was complaining how exhausted she is. My husband scoffed and told her, "You must be doing the parent thing wrong because I am a stay-at-home parent too, but I never had problem. My wife barely does anything around the house and it is so easy. Maybe I should give you a lesson or two." I can see Ashley was upset and I understand why. Later that day, I told him what he said to Ashley was very rude, and my husband acted as if he said nothing wrong and was honest. I pointed that he doesn't do all the chores. I help him with at least 40%. That's why he thinks it's easy. He again argued that those chores are not significant compared to what he does. I told him he is being mean to everyone, that we got lucky that our kids are easy and not active. Most of the kids are hard to handle. He again scoffed and said, "How hard can it be?" We argued about this, and he told me I am being ungrateful because no man would ever sacrifice like he did. Now I am upset and gave him some space. Was I wrong to point it out? Edit. Just want to point out, I have no issues with him being a stay-at-home dad. I just don't like his attitude towards it, and the way he thinks it is the easiest job in this world. Because to me and most of the people, it is still a job that has no vacation days. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Welcome to reality. It rarely matters how much the person who works outside the home does at home. It's never enough. Husbands complain that they work 50 hours a week, do all the hard work, all the home maintenance, all the auto maintenance, and help out a little in the house. And they get eviscerated if they don't pitch in 50-50 on housework and give the stay-at-home parent time off at night and on the weekends. We ran the actual numbers with my partner who was stay-at-home. Turned out, I was putting in 30 more hours per week of work outside and inside a home. Try documenting both of your workloads fairly and see what the work equity comes out to be. It may not work out with cleaning or cooking. Look at everything. If your husband is in a deficit, let him know. My husband gets rest after I come home. I know he works all day and deserves a break. It gets exhausting if you are pulling all the emotional chores. I do not want to be one of those people who complain about not wanting to do housework because they're too tired. Also, spending time with my kids is not a chore. It is more of a bonding experience. My concern is his sacrificing. What exactly does that mean? Weren't they choices? So he has sacrificed what? There seems to be some underlying issues for him around his role and the need to feel superior in this role. I'm one for therapy because it could be helpful for him and you in fleshing out the issues with going against cultural gender roles. Shame is a sinister emotion that sometimes masks itself. It was 100% his choice to quit his job and be a stay-at-home dad. In fact, he gets way more praises as a house husband than I did as a housewife. And being a stay-at-home dad has improved his mood. His job was very soul-sucking, so I supported his decision. Not the a-hole. He sounds exhausting and unaware of how self-centered he is. Parenting isn't a competition between him and you. It's a team sport where you both have to participate. Sounds like you are doing more in context, in the home and outside home. Love seeing a stay-at-home dad, but he needs a swift kick in the butt for being full of himself, not valuing your contributions and his misogynistic comments. Stop doing what you're doing and let him truly be a stay-at-home dad, not the a-hole. Yep, see how long he lasts when you stop doing all the stuff is deemed insignificant. If it truly is, then he can't complain about a tiny little increase in workload, and you get that time/labor back for you. Yeah, from what Opie described, it just sounds like he's unemployed and not a stay-at-home dad. Now for the update. Okay, I took everyone's advice and stopped working my part of the chores. I did tell him beforehand, since he thinks my contribution to the housework is nothing, that I will stop doing everything altogether. I told him since he thinks being a stay-at-home dad is easy, then he should have a full experience of it. My friend's husband doesn't even lift a finger around the house, so I wouldn't too. He was obviously upset. He wanted to argue I cannot do this to him. He even tried to pull the incompetence card. I told him I am not going to do my portion of the job at home. I also gave the typical excuse of, I work all day at my office so that we can survive on one income. It is selfish for him to expect me to do housework. And that's what I did. I didn't do any housework. I didn't wake up in the morning and made breakfast. My husband had to do it. It wasn't hard for him, but I can see he was moody. I asked him to prepare my lunch because that is also my job. He refused at first, but then I told him he said he will do all the household chores too. That includes my lunch as well. He only packed me a peanut butter jelly sandwich. I didn't do meal prep for lunch either. It was his to figure out. At night when I came home, I didn't make dinner and asked him to do it. He was shocked, but did it anyways. I didn't give my son a bath. He is fuzzy, which ticked my husband off. I only helped my daughter with her homework and I didn't help him with the laundry. The first few days didn't say a word, but after a week, it was showing that he is getting exhausted. He was getting more and more angry at small stuff, and usually cleaning would cool him off. But whenever he sees a mess, he throws a tantrum. In the weekends, I went to my mother's house to relax. That weekend, we were supposed to clean our bathrooms, but he did that all by himself. As the days progressed, I can see him being really angry at me. Even I admit, it has affected our intimacy a lot. At last, after 2 weeks, he told me, basically yelled, that I proved my point. Things are back to normal, but I can see he is very distant with me. Last night I asked him to talk to me. He said he knew what game I was playing, but he did not appreciate me treating him like garbage and not considering his feelings. I told him it was his words that being a stay-at-home dad is easy. I just gave him the full experience of it. He kept saying that I should have been more supportive. All these weeks, he felt like a nobody and so underappreciated. He felt invisible. He started to hate me for not caring and dumping everything on him. He is still not talking to me, and we have booked a couples therapy session next week. Let's see if our relationship sustains or not. I think it goes without saying, but not the a-hole. Not gonna lie, he sounds pretty toxic. Even when he has his come-to-Jesus moment, he's not actually recognizing that what he's feeling is exactly the thing he was demeaning others for. He thought it was easy, learned it's not, and instead of recognizing it, he pushes everything off on you. I really hope your counseling works, Opie, because he really needs it. Yeah, he's lashing out at her because he doesn't want to face how shameful his own behavior was. Everything was hunky-dory when he was discounting the work that Opie was doing and the amount most stay-at-home parents do. Let's not forget he has consistently shown he is more than happy to discount the work the women around him do. First it was the stay-at-home friends, and then Opie's efforts at home. You're telling me that a stay-at-home parent that does everything around a house while the other parent does nothing but work feels exhausted and unappreciated? What? How could he have possibly known that? Except for the barrage of women who told him they felt this way for years. But that doesn't count. After all, being a stay-at-home parent is easy, right? They were just being dramatic. Aw, he feels unappreciated and invisible? That's how women feel every day. He messed around and found out, and I was pissing like a child. Not the a-hole, but why are you with a loser? He literally can't do anything on his own, and you hurt his man ego. Like, what does he bring to the table? And don't give me the BS of love, he is a great parent, etc. He is a crappy partner who has a fragile ego and doesn't contribute 50% of the household. Literally evaluate life, because you literally have the short end of the stick with this relationship. I won't call him a loser. If you are a stay-at-home mom and have your husband help you out, would you still call yourself a loser? I agree he acted poorly, but I know my husband. I'm sure there is some deep-seated problem I don't know about. Info. Is alimony a thing where you're from? We live in a no-fault state. That has nothing to do with whether or not alimony gets awarded. You'd best check that out. We don't have a prenup. He has been out of work for 3 years. Maybe I do have to pay him alimony, but I'm not sure. Is there any option where even if he gets alimony, he has to find a job within a certain amount of time, otherwise his spousal support will be revoked? As he is the stay-at-home parent, he will likely get primary custody as it is seen as better for the kids consistency-wise. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I'd be telling the court about a sleepy driving incident if he files for divorce? My 44 female husband, 47 male, has basically declared war on me. We have 3 kids, 10 male, 7 female, and 3 female. Our son is a talented tennis player. My husband and I are both college athletes, and he almost went professional for baseball. And I used to mentor girls who ended up becoming NFL cheerleaders. My parents never had the money or dedication to support me pursuing what I loved. I made the best of it, but wanted it to be different for my son. So he gets intensive pre-professional training. Because of that, and the fact that we were building our own dream house, my husband worked a night shift job, a first shift job, and also worked as 4 to 6 hour shifts as event staff during weekends. Meanwhile, I had a receptionist job that was 32 hours a week. My son's tennis sucks up the entire income from my husband's night shift job plus my income. The rest of the money was needed to build and maintain our dream house. I thought the contractors had bad insights, so we acted as our own general contractor. We had a construction loan, but on top of that, we had to pour our money into it because things went wrong. Friends told us our only way out was to build something unique enough we could just sell it for high and make some money from it. At that point, we started arguing. Apparently, HelloFresh, which advertises affordability, isn't affordable. Argued about leasing a Jeep versus Toyota. Then came the instance where my husband was driving home from his day shift. He was feeling tired, yet he decided to start the car. He drove for a while, apparently knew he was tired, and then pulled into the runabout area of an apartment complex. He dozed off before putting the car in park and ended up hitting the apartment's garage door. He was fined by the apartment, plus a citation for reckless driving, and a fight started after he walked in the door. I said that they've charged people with felonies for that. He could have lost his career. He starts screaming he has woken up and thinks he worked so hard all for me. He called me a narcissist and said he thinks I get him to do all this because I feel inferior, and to have somebody do all this gives me an extra kick. He then said we needed a trial period apart. We got into an argument yesterday after he said he's thinking of quitting his night shift job and filing for divorce. He insulted our house saying it looked like 5 people from different eras built parts of it and smashed it together. I replied by saying he's not going to get custody when I tell the judge about him being a reckless driver, and maybe he'd even be denied visitation. He screamed and said even child abusers get visitation, and I replied that a court official wouldn't have to be in a car with them. My husband got calm and said that was the last straw. From now on, I'm no longer important to him. Am I the a-hole for saying things in anger when he's been blaming me? He's the one who decided to get in the car and possibly run over everybody. Why would you hurt your kids like that by denying them access to their father? Why would you even threaten that? You threatened to weaponize the court and his children against him. You're the a-hole. That's terrifying. He fell asleep in his car. A serious medical issue should be ruled out. No one can work 60+ hours consistently over an extended period of time without incident like this, and managing or coordinating the construction would absolutely count as work. And for what exactly is he overextending himself for? A wife who threatens to weaponize their children? A house? And a pipe dream you'll have an Olympian in the family? The chances of your kid becoming or wanting to become an Olympian or a sports star are slim. I had a colleague whose daughter was sent to a special gymnastics school. They stretched themselves financially to put her in that school with coaches who had trained other prospective Olympians. Their daughter turned 16 and didn't want to do it anymore. She wanted to be just a regular kid. Don't overextend yourself financially to promote a pipe dream, unless you can swallow that whole loss with a smile when it likely comes. Sure sounds like your husband has overextended himself, and you all need to think about what's really important in your lives. A kid that I was supposed to graduate with in high school was a really good wrestler, but he couldn't beat this one guy in his weight class. Kid's dad held him back a year so his son could dominate at wrestling. When a kid was a junior, he quit wrestling. Any athlete is one injury away from not having a career. Delusional to destroy the entire family based on this pipe dream. You're the a-hole, and you're the one that declared war. Your husband is exhausted trying to support your ridiculous dreams. Your son is probably not going to be a wealthy pro tennis player. He's probably going to resent the pressure you're putting on him. This dream house is ridiculously impractical, and with your firing your general contractor, your husband's assessment of the house is probably accurate. You're trying to live completely outside your means, and your husband has been killing himself to try and support this. And your response is to use it as a weapon against him. Again, Major, you're the a-hole. I want to say outside of reality. She's a receptionist and wants to live like she's earning a six-figure income and expects the man to make up for her own desires. Also, she's pushing that onto her kids by trying to make one into a pro when they're 10. All it'll do is cause resentment and a hate of the sport. Please note her blaming her parents for not trying hard enough to help her go pro to help my point. After she points out the money, she feels it's okay to use her husband as a workhorse. My husband isn't attracted to me because I am smarter than him. Plus update. Original post. As the title says, he came home one day and gave me logins to some IQ test, and I scored higher than him. First, he was in disbelief, then a bit sulky. I thought the whole thing was stupid, and I never thought or experienced that I'm smarter, and I never understood the logic of these tests. Anyway, since then he has changed. He doesn't want to cuddle or kiss me or anything. Last Saturday, we attended a birthday party for my little nephew, and my husband spent the evening chatting up my sister-in-law's sister, who is very pretty. When we got home, I just headed up to here with him and started crying because he ignored me for at least 3 weeks, and now he is flirting with other people. He denied everything. He denied being changed with me since the test, but I wasn't backing down this time. I told him that I wasn't stupid and that he stopped being affectionate since that damn day. He finally admitted that he was turned off by the fact and that he wasn't attracted to me. I asked him if he still wasn't attracted to me and why. I haven't changed. I'm still me. He apologized and said that he would put his act together and that he knows how silly this is. But he has been wary around me since. I still think he is turned off by me. What can I do now? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Honestly, if he's this hung up on an online IQ test, I probably wouldn't be attracted to him much either. For one, to be honest, this whole thing is trivial and he's dragging it out. Secondly, to me this is a red flag that he views someone smart as an attractive. Then he flirts with someone else right in front of you? You should find someone smarter, who also treats you better. Edit. I've been getting a few comments about how splitting is a bad take here. But honestly, how do you come back from something like this? On top of telling her to her face that he didn't find her attractive anymore, he also openly flirted with someone else right in front of her. This isn't a "I didn't really like the gift my partner gave me" or a "I wish my partner would be more romantic" type of post. Yeah, flirted with someone at a family function too. Yikes. That is indicative of a low IQ. Who would have thought finding out is factually stupid would only make him more stupid, lol. And someone being turned off by intelligence? Honestly, isn't even a stupidity thing. That dude just wants a dumb lass to keep from feeling his actual worth, or lack thereof. It's like the ugly friend BS kids do in high school. I hate to be this person, but I couldn't trust him anymore. Seriously, he was flirting with someone right in front of you because he's mad that you're smarter than him. That's disgusting behavior. If you want it to work out, then couples counseling is a must. But really, ask yourself if you are attracted to him after his behavior. My spiteful butt could never put up with some of the men on this app. Is it spiteful to reject a disrespectful, stupid man though? Perhaps the dumb could be worked with, but not the disrespect. I feel you though. So many women post on Reddit all sorts of foolishness from men. It's ridiculous. Right? I've had instances where someone made genuine mistakes or messed up and worked through it because they tried their hardest to fix it. But disrespect is something I can't tolerate. Something like this also would show me how he thinks of women in general, and that alone would not make me feel right being with him after. The thought of him thinking I was dumber than him the whole time, and that's what was attractive, very strange and uncomfy to me. Now for the update. We are taking a break. So I told my husband that I have had enough. He has obviously had a change of heart, and I'm not gonna be there to witness him falling out of love with me. The mere thought is painful. He called me dramatic and said while his reaction was bitter and stupid, I'm taking a huge leap in the wrong direction, since he already acknowledged his mistake and is working towards being better. I told him that it wasn't true. He is still avoiding me like I'm a leper. I also asked to see his phone and found out he has been talking a bit too friendly to a coworker. It started immediately after this whole test thing, like he was determined to hurt me, or I don't know what he was trying to accomplish otherwise. In one of the texts, he complained that I was neglectful and full of myself. How ironic to pretend that I'm the neglectful one, when he has not even kissed my cheek in over a month. I felt it was a matter of time before he would cheat on me, and I'm not staying for that. So I asked him to move out. This morning he texted me that he loved me and that he was sorry. He didn't know what he was trying to prove to me or to himself, but that he loves me and finds me very attractive. I called BS, honestly. He's been so cold with me, flirting with everyone that looked his way, and now he's all loving and affectionate? He wants us to try therapy, and he suggested that he needed to work on his insecurities with a therapist too. We have a daughter together who is 8 months old that we love more than anything, but I don't know. Why does it feel like it is over and I don't trust him anymore? I feel like I know now what he's capable of doing when faced with adversity. And going through rough patches is inevitable in every marriage, but I don't like his method of dealing with it. I'm too intelligent to put up with this. He's insecure and is trying to look for others to boost his confidence. You deserve so much more. Not a man who feels threatened by your intelligence. If anything, he should be proud of what he has. Since he cannot be that way, it just shows how self-absorbed he is. This is all true. Free yourself from that sorry excuse of a husband. It's blatantly obvious that he was trying to make you feel bad, and then flirting with other people in front of you to try to make you jealous. He is a child. He's not touched you for weeks because he's been sulking, but is telling others who have no business in your relationship that you are neglectful? Nah, screw him. He thought you'd come groveling. Well, look how the tables have turned. Please, please, do not let him weasel his way back in. You deserve so much more, and you are way too smart for him. I'm too intelligent to put up with this. Yes, you are. Don't look back, girl, especially for the sake of your baby. She deserves to grow up in an environment where intelligent women are prized, not treated the way your idiot of a husband has been treating you. She should tell him that I'm too smart to put up with this, and we both damn well know it because you had me take a test. Glad to read this update. Good for you. Honestly, he does need therapy. Alone. As someone else suggested on the last post, you are not a problem here. If you really want to, you could talk to a therapist to work out your feelings on the situation or for closure. If it takes you leaving for him to realize what he had, he likely never deserved it in the first place. I like to take therapy with a person, even if I still plan to leave, since they tend to either lie to a ridiculous degree or you get the truth. I think this guy would probably lie and try and make it seem like you did, but at least you can get everything you feel off your chest in a safe space. Next story. Girlfriend female 33 just kicked me out of the house male 28 in front of her kids, then begged me to come back. I just need quick closure. I have no one to talk to about this, to be honest. I feel like I'm getting thrown for a loop. I've been with my girlfriend for almost 2 years and she has 2 kids from a previous marriage. They're good kids. Girlfriend has some issues that she's working out in therapy, but to be honest, and I know it's one-sided since I'm the only one posting, but I'm her emotional ragdoll. I take whatever is needed of me. I get yelled at, I've been hit before, but this stopped in the last few months. All when the kids are with their baby daddy or in bed. But today we had a disagreement, and she kicked me out in front of everyone. It was over dinner. I wasn't upset. No raised voices. She told me I had 10 minutes to get my things and leave. So I do. I don't want to make a scene or get upset in front of the kids. I get a backpack with my work stuff and go. I try to ask if that's what she wants, and she says yes. Cue 5 minutes after getting on a highway, she calls me after putting the kids to bed. She is crying, begging me to come back. This is the 3rd time this has happened in a year, despite therapy. I tell her I'm going to stay with my parents, that I have told them that I am on my way to them. She tells me that if I don't come back and forgive her, that we're done. That unconditional love is getting kicked out and accepting her apology. That if I don't, I'm responsible for if she self-harms. I don't want this. She's calling me and demanding an answer and I just don't know what to do. Can someone tell me I'm doing the right thing by just staying away? I understand it was a 2-year relationship, but my mental health is drained. Thanks for reading. Now for the top advice. You're being abused, and it's horrible for kids. Get out and stay out. She's batshit crazy. Look up trauma bonding. Scene. You take her back and she is super happy. You take her into the bedroom and make sweet, sweet makeup love. You finish and are cuddling with her and she picks a fight with you. Cortisol, dopamine, cortisol, dopamine. The rapid succession drugs your brain and makes you addicted to her like a drug. She can do whatever she wants to you and you will always forgive her. She is your fix, and no other girl can make you feel that way. Speaking from personal experience, the only way out is to cut all contact. This is what my ex did to me. It took a lot to learn when I was truly upset, /anxious, /depressed about something that was happening, or when my body was just looking for a shot of cortisol. She can work through it, but if she's been in therapy for 2 years and no changes, I think she either isn't working at it because she has no motivation to, since you have come back after her crazy tirades, or needs a new therapist. You definitely need to stay away for your own sake, /health, /sanity OP. This hit home for me. I'm in a similar situation and haven't had the balls to walk away because we have a child together and I'm a foreigner in her country, from the US living in Mexico. I can't fathom the idea of not seeing my kid, so I've been dealing. Any advice? I should probably do my own post. She's calling me and demanding an answer and I just don't know what to do. Block her number and sleep like a baby on your mama's couch. Your girlfriend is physically, verbally, and emotionally abusing you. Get away from her. That if I don't, I'm responsible for if she self-harms. This is called emotional hostage taking. It's manipulation. She will not hurt herself. It's just a bluff. People who say they will harm themselves generally don't. People who harm themselves don't tell people their plans in advance, so nobody can stop them. If she's saying she will do it but hasn't done it, it's just an empty threat to keep you her hostage. I would like to add that if on the odd chance it's not a bluff, and she does self-harm or worse, it's on her and not on you. You are not responsible at all for that. Do not cave into her emotional blackmail. But a wellness check for her and kids should be made. If she does follow through, the kids are in harm's way. If she is crazy enough, she could unalive the kids before herself. Agreed on a wellness check. Also, getting in touch with a baby daddy and therapist may also be advised. Baby daddy could take the kids, while ex has a meltdown and therapist is legally obligated to contact authorities if their patient is threatening and considering self-harm or harm of others. I don't know who told her love was unconditional, but that's not how relationships work. Love is conditional on mutual respect, good communication, and tons of other things. Last story. I possibly caused my wife's ex-husband unalive himself. I, 32 male, and my wife, 36 female, have been together 5 years. We have 0 infidelity issues, and I never had any relations with her, emotional or otherwise, before her and her ex divorced. I help co-parent, and I have never had a bad word between myself and her ex. In fact, I've scolded their children for talking bad on their father in my presence. However, a couple weeks ago, we were having a party for one of the kids having come in the top 10 of national competition here in the USA. We were talking to my stepson about his achievement and how when he's successful, he's gonna be such a catch. And their dad spoke up and said, "Yeah, you will have your pick just like your old man. You won't have to settle for a used-up hoe-like wife. Speaking of which, how you liking that wallowed-out thing, Opie?" I was at a loss for words. Not only does this come out of left field, but it ticked me off immensely. I wanted to beat the heck out of the guy, but he's a leg amputee with diabetes and I had a bunch of children there. So, I reacted with the only thing I could without messing up my relationship with stepkids and looking like a bully. I used a comeback I heard years ago and told him, to be honest, I was worried about that at first, but after the first inch, the other 9 felt brand new. I'm gonna be honest, the rage filled his face was intoxicating. I also was really wanting to throw down, but when one of his family member, a female cousin I think, started laughing at my comeback, he tucked his head in shame and eventually slinked to his car and just left. A few days later, he took a large amount of pain medication and didn't make it. I found out later from my wife that he had a very small member, and apparently, he had been intimate with female cousin when they were teenagers, hence why she burst out laughing. They say hindsight is 20/20, and seeing how upset my stepkids are, I feel bad like I caused this. I had to defend her in some way, but maybe if I had just yelled about how inappropriate saying that was, or scolded him like a child, this wouldn't have happened. Was I wrong? Or was this just karma or happenstance? Honestly, don't know where to go from here. Just trying to help the kids through this without them feeling like I'm trying to take their father's place or something. It's an unfortunate situation, but I honestly doubt your one comment is what sent him over the edge. He obviously already had some deep-rooted issues. I guess he had issues. I'm still at a loss why he would say something like that at all. We never had a bad word between us, nor did I say anything about him, especially in front of the kids. The wife sure enough let it know she wasn't a fan. I honestly wonder if he felt I was upstanding him in that apartment. Though that wasn't my intention. I was spending time with kids doing things he wasn't able anymore due to the amputation. I figured since he was a gamer, he and the kids could do that together. And I would spend time doing things he couldn't and try to fill the gaps and help as best I could. As this outburst was out of character, he may have sabotaged his relationship on purpose if he was cutting ties to make ending his life more bearable. As someone who has lived with self-ending thoughts and behaviors, it is much harder to go when you feel loved by others. Much easier if you feel hated and that things are ruined forever. It's really very sad, but not OP's fault. It's nice to open the thread and see people being informed and showing understanding as to what might have been going through his mind. I've been there for most of the year and much of last year, and I get it. I get why someone would do this, and I've considered doing the same many times. Just because you're staying with a ship doesn't mean your friends have to sink with you, so you throw them onto the dingy for their sake. OP, it's not your fault. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I've had a fair share of my dark days, and while it wasn't a conscious decision, during those times I did a great job of angering all of my closest friends and relatives. It's definitely easier to hate yourself when you think everyone else does too. I'm thankful that I never made it as far as this guy did. But OP's comments had little, if anything, had to do with the ex's ultimate decision.